Florida's Space Coast. This is your career.
Welcome to the program. Tonight I'm joined by J.J. Cooper, president of Uncle J.J. Enterprises. J.J., it has been nearly a year I've been trying to get on your calendar, so I am delighted to have you here.
My pleasure.
And you have, what has interested me most is really the fact that you are an innovator and you have come up with this awesome product that I want you to be able to help people maybe inspire somebody else who might have a concept or an idea where they have a product that they want to manufacture.
Well, I've been an outdoorsman my entire life. I'm originally from West Virginia. I grew up in Florida. And, I spent my entire childhood camping and fishing and the whole thing, anything outdoors. Later on in life, I got involved in the military and I did a lot of criminal justice work after that. So I've had a lot of exposure to gear, good stuff, some not so good stuff. And, I've always messed with it and improved it. And, ever since I was a kid, people have told me that, man, you need to, this is what you should be doing. And late in life, I just kind of ended up finally listening to the advice and going for it.
That's great. That's great.
Yep.
Well, you have designed something that you call the Boozy Bucket.
The original Boozy Bucket, that's
right. The original Boozy Bucket. Tell us a little bit about that product and what inspired you to produce that product.
Well, I've got a whole book of designs for outdoor products, and this is my flagship product, and I chose it because it has so many applications. It's not just a one-trick pony for somebody that's a fisherman or somebody. Virtually anybody can use it.
So
it's active at all. Essentially, it's a soft cooler that you can turn into a hard cooler by adding a 5-gallon bucket and the patent pending cooler lid that'll fit on any 5-gallon bucket. It's padded. It's got a bunch of attachment points and pockets for accessories, and it's just a multi-use. That really, for anything I invent, my goal is I want it to be multifunctional, I want it to be affordable, and I want it to be super durable. And that's what I have with the Boozy Bucket.
That's cool.
Yes.
Tell me, I'm curious, what were some of the critical steps that has brought you to this point right now? I should say, what are some of the critical steps that you've taken that's gotten you here, right?
Long road. When I first decided to do it, I said, okay, I'm committed. A buddy of mine was giving me, he was up at the Pentagon at the time, and he's like, you're in the perfect spot in life where you should finally do this. We've been telling you since you were a kid, go. And he got on me pretty good. He's like a brother to me, So I made the decision, and then I just did a ton of research. I think it's important for anybody just starting out, if they've never produced or created or invented something your first time out, there's so many things that have to be considered, The first thing you really need to do is just research your market, know your market. Who does my idea, who does it apply to? And then you have to figure out how to make it, And then that's when you start fiddling around in your garage and messing around with different materials, and then you have to find prototypers. I mean, there's many steps to it.
Well, I think that's those are, 3 logical first steps, and there's probably a lot of other finer steps in between all of those, right?
Yeah, it's a full-time job and then some.
Yeah.
So.
Because the one thing I was thinking about is when they're looking at their target market, I think is maybe what you were saying, it's really just trying to understand, is there really a market for this product, and where are they?
Yep.
How do I reach them?
That's the most important thing, I would say. If you know your idea is solid and you believe in what it is and what it can do even before you produce it or even have a prototype,
right?
If you can vividly see it in your mind, how is it put together? How does it work? That's the thing. It's the idea. But if you don't know, how does that translate to taking it out into the world, and who would want it?
Yeah.
And, you know, would people want it? What would they pay for it? How much is it going to cost me to make it?
Yeah.
You know? And
Yeah. What's that profit margin going to be?
there has to be one, or
There-
you can't exist.
That's right.
So,
Yeah, absolutely.
yep.
Tell us a little bit more. Anything else around the innovation process? I mean, you've given us some good steps. Anything else that when you really got into the design of the Boozy Bucket that you discovered you had to do something different, or maybe there was a way you could adapt it a little bit more than you initially thought?
Pretty much the product that I have today is exactly how I saw it in my mind.
Wow.
But and I was told by some people that have been down this road a few times that I got really actually pretty lucky, and it was great how quickly it worked out. There wasn't really that many iterations of the product itself. The lid, in my mind's eye, I saw an exact thing. We stepped away from that on a couple of very minor details, and then we ended up going back to exactly how I had seen it, and we were very happy with it.
Wow, that's great.
And, yep.
Now, you said there's a patent pending on the lid.
Yes.
That's a whole another level of effort
Yep.
and work. So what was involved in getting it just to where it is now, where you now have a patent pending? Somebody's,
Well, again, we go back to the research part, and instead of researching your customers, now you're researching the product. You know, it's called the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office, USPTO, and it's an invaluable resource. Their website, you know, I would suggest to anybody that's considering inventing anything to go on there and look up other patents and do searches and read how they were written and look at the whole process. And really, that it's a crucial, essential step that you have to take. And then, you know, I dealt with a lot of legalese and wording and verbiage in my past life, so I was a little bit lucky. I'm no attorney, but I was able to pretty much write it myself.
Oh, that's great.
But and anybody can do that. You don't have to have a patent attorney, but I did use one. It's funny. You know, I've dealt with a lot of lawyers in different aspects of life, and you know, the lawyer jokes are always, you know, so they're patent attorneys are a whole different breed of lawyer.
Yeah.
They're really like curious, inventive. They're really engineers that have a law degree, and they get excited and they're so helpful.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, that's great. And so when
Yes.
anybody's thinking about designing a product, that they really need to think about, is this patentable?
That's part of it. You have to
Yeah.
find out, and you know, and as the patenting process goes, you know, it takes years and years and years. I mean, I applied
Right.
for my patent over 2 years ago, I think.
Yeah.
And eventually they'll get back to you with questions. They don't just look over your application and issue you a patent.
Right.
They delve really deeply into it, compare it to other products that exist. They compare it to other patent applications of things that were never even produced. You know, you could have invented something that somebody else invented years ago, and they just filled out a patent application and then never even pursued it.
But they were awarded a patent?
It's possible, or
Okay.
you know, there's all these issues that's where the attorney comes in, you know,
Yeah.
because it gets tricky.
I would imagine it
yeah,
would.
so-
Well, with that thought in mind, what has surprised you most about this journey?
What has surprised me?
Yeah.
Been a lot of surprises. It's emotional. It's a roller coaster ride, you know. It's my full-time job. It takes all your time. It takes a lot of money, and it really it's a gamble.
Yeah.
You know, you just really never know what's going to happen. So the one of the pleasant surprises, I would say, is if you're open about what you're doing and you're excited about it, and
Yeah.
you're not shy about telling people, all of a sudden you start meeting other entrepreneurs, and it's incredible how many of them there are, and you'll meet more and more people, and there's almost a network. And in my mind, going into it, I thought, okay, you got to be secretive, you know, you got to hide everything, and everybody's going to be after you to steal your, because you hear stories like
You
that.
do.
But really, the majority of the people you meet are helpful, and they share resources with you, and you do the same for them, and you stay in touch. And you know, they have a product that's totally different than yours, but you know, through your researching and your product development and prototyping, you get to meet a lot of people. And then you think, oh, I met this guy that's making this thing, you know, for pets, and he should know about this guy that I just met that does 3D printing. And it's really a networking thing.
That's exactly the word that popped in my mind, JJ. So
you got to be a networker.
Yeah.
You have to be.
yeah, making those connections and finding a way to exchange information and give back to one another.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, you can't be, you know, you have to apply some common sense.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
Are some people bad, and are some people rip off liar type people? Of course they're out there. If you can get a pretty good sense of who you're talking to, and you know, if you hide something away forever, it's never going to exist.
Yeah.
I mean, that's at the end of the day, you have to accept that.
Absolutely.
So
I'm kind of curious, moving our conversation along a little bit, what are some of the considerations or sacrifices that you've made to really get this product where it is today?
Well, a lot of time, a lot of effort, and we talked about the money.
Yeah.
I've taken on investors. I own 70% of my company,
Okay.
and they've been great, actually.
Good.
And you don't know. You know, I've heard nightmare stories of you bring people into your company and things that can happen.
Yeah.
And I haven't experienced any of that.
Thankfully.
Yep. So they've been real supportive, and you know, they're all successful in their own careers and have a lot of life experience. So they're not just someone that wrote a check.
Yeah.
I mean, they had stuff to offer the
Yeah.
company besides the amount of money they put
Sounds
in.
like they had knowledge and prior experience that they could
You know,
share with
yeah,
you.
well, we've got an attorney on my board. He's an investor. We've got a branding guy. We've got a security expert. We've got some
Wow.
really cool guys
That's
with
good.
varied backgrounds, and I've enjoyed my time with them.
Yeah,
So,
that variety of people, the diversity of people that you have would bring a lot of different perspectives to the table that might help challenge some of your thinking, right?
they challenge you for sure, and then they add, you know, a fresh perspective.
Yeah.
And then, you know, one of the guys in my company is the owner of Black Dog Bait and Tackle. So you have an attorney over here and a national branding guy over here, and then you have a guy that owns a very successful bait and tackle shop. And my product is an outdoors product. So
Thus the image that we see here.
Yep.
I love it.
It's just, that's me. That's me.
Well, and it's your brand.
So, yeah.
Right?
Well, when the guys got involved, they said, JJ, you realize you're the brand. And I'm like, well, what are you talking about? I don't know what you mean. And they're like, I didn't invent some character I'm just being myself, you know.
Right.
And it just kind of worked out that way.
Yeah, that's
So,
perfect.
yep.
But a lot of people don't think about what is your brand, right? And so that's great that you have a corporate image and a brand for the Boozy Bucket.
Branding, marketing, and the thing that's been a headache for me is advertising. You know, I'm learning lessons about that every day. And eventually, if you're going to grow a company to be a national brand, you have to advertise. There's no way you're going to do that word of mouth. I do a lot of personal appearances. A lot of my resellers or retail stores that carry the Boozy Bucket, they'll say, hey, we're having a thing, you know, October 28th. Can you be there? And I say, sure. If I'm going to be in the area, I say, sure.
Yeah.
And I go, and sales are really good because I get a chance to go through all the details and show them everything and all the uses and tell them the story. But, you know, you can only be one place at a time.
That's right.
So then you get into advertising where you can explain it to large groups of people at once,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not cheap.
No, that's
Nope.
right. And like you say, it's one person, the face and the brand of the company,
Yep.
right? And you can only be in one place at a time. So getting
Yep.
creative and thinking about how you can do that. So go ahead.
You know, it's funny. Most products, the brand image and what they're trying to portray and to show their potential customers have absolutely nothing to do with the guy that invented it,
Yeah.
or the lady or whatever,
Right, right.
what they look like or where they're from or how
Mhm.
they. But it was just oddly it worked out that way in my
Perfectly.
case,
Yes. Yes.
So
That's
yeah,
perfect.
yeah.
That's great. So I'm
So
kind of wondering, because you already mentioned to me what has really been a challenge for you. What is the thought process that you've had for distributing this product?
you've opened a can of worms on that one.
Okay.
So right now I'm the distributor. We're talking to several large national distributors right now, but I, we're in a little over 100 retail locations in 7 states. And when one of them needs to reorder, a lot of times I'll just take it to them myself.
Wow.
And we sell direct, obviously. Um, we're offering free shipping right now on our website. So distribution is it's a tricky area,
Mm-hmm.
and we're trying to make some deals right now.
Well, you
But
mentioned,
it's a margin thing too.
yeah, yeah.
You know, there are some distributors that they want such a giant margin. I don't even know how it is they exist, and how
Wow.
do they? I'm just trying to figure these things out as I go. You know, how does anybody do business with XYZ distribution
Right.
if they're taking all of it, all the profit? And but you know,
Yeah.
these are things entrepreneurs have to think about and learn. And every time you solve a problem, just as soon as it's solved, you've got another mystery on your hands of what to do. You know.
But it sounds
So,
like you've surrounded by yourself with a team of people to help you really think through some of those challenges. You've got some, trusted advisors that are on your team that you can confer with.
yes,
That
and
makes a difference, I'm sure.
that's essential. There's no way possible for anybody to do this alone. You have to, and it will try relationships.
Yeah.
If it's a husband and wife or boyfriend and girlfriend or siblings or whoever going into this together, it's gonna try you.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to know what your position is, what the other person's position is, and you go and you support each other. And if you can't do that, I don't think it's possible. If you surround yourself with successful people, when you're out traveling and you're meeting people in your area of what your product relates to, I mean, people are actually pretty open.
Yeah.
You ask them, how
Yeah.
did you do it? And they're most of the time they're happy to tell you.
Yeah.
You
Well, I'm
know?
kind of curious about the manufacturing process, because I think
Yes.
for many people who have an idea, a lot of people have ideas or a concept, but to really, take it through the manufacturing process, right? That I think can be baffling for people.
I had a lot of help on that.
Can you give us some insight in terms of things to think about?
Well, I was starting out. I'm brand new. I'm all excited. I've got this awesome product, and I'm gonna have "Made in America," "Made in the USA" sewn right into the label of the cover, and I started calling and researching and emailing. And my personal experience was I couldn't find an American manufacturer that had any interest in talking to me at all.
Wow.
And I spent a lot of time and effort, which equates to money. You're taking a lot of your time away from other things that need to be done.
Right.
And I couldn't find anybody.
Wow.
And as these guys are teaching me, you're sitting and you're looking at, okay, you're ordering overseas 1,200 units at a time, and you have to work into the equation. Okay, what's an acceptable amount of these being flawed or damaged that aren't usable, and you kind of have to work it out. And I mean, we've made 3 or 4 reorders now, and I mean, I've had like 5 or 6 of them with a problem.
Oh, wow.
And that's, I mean, so I couldn't be happier.
It's a drop in the bucket, so to speak,
yeah,
right?
yeah. You know, you have to assume it's going to be more than that, and it's been much less.
Yeah.
So I've got 0 complaints.
So what about the
that.
sales cycle? Tell me about the salesmanship that goes into this. How did you, because you know, you're talking about the distribution, but you're still the face, and so you're doing a lot of the knocking on doors, if you will.
I'm doing all of it.
Mm-hmm.
It's tough, you know. A lot of people will, you know, come out with a product and they'll hire representatives and do all
Right.
this, and I've done it myself.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of outside of being the guy that invented it. That's kind of I don't have a problem talking to people, you know. And we just started targeting different markets and areas
Mm-hmm.
and potential customers that could sell a product like the boozy bucket. And I just started driving around. I'd grab a couple of samples and walk in and ask to see the owner. And the response has been really overwhelmingly positive.
So tell us a little bit more. I'm curious about, you know, you went in when you were manufacturing, or I should say when you designed it, you decided right from the beginning that it was going to be multi-purpose. Give me an idea of some of the, why was that important? And how did you?
Well, you know, you can make a really specific product, and but you're kind of hamstringing yourself. Now you're stuck with a small market, a targeted area,
Right.
and you're either going to make it with that small group or you're not,
Yeah.
and you're going to find out pretty quick.
Yeah.
But you know, my product, it's for fishing, hunting, camping, but it's also for the beach and kids' soccer games and grocery shopping.
Mm-hmm.
I
Grocery
know-
shopping.
yep.
I hadn't thought about it.
Well, the outer shell can be used just on its own as a really high quality soft cooler because it's modular. You can use it a
Okay.
bunch of ways. And I know quite a few people that take just the soft part to Publix or wherever they shop. Lucky's Market's a good one. And they put their frozen vegetables in it and ice cream or milk or whatever and zip it up and everything gets home. And then you know, it's still usable for a bunch of other things.
Yeah.
It's not just
So
a cheap,
strapping it on.
reusable shopping bag, and that's all
Yeah.
you can use it for.
Yeah, because
you know.
I think the thing that struck me the first time you introduced me to this product was the fact that it could go on a kayak. You know, guys could take it out fishing, and my sons do both of those things, right? And so, you know, but you could actually strap it on a kayak, and it
Yes.
has multiple purposes. I think you said storing oars.
Well, it's got rod holders that can be
Okay.
used if you're fishing.
Yeah.
Half of my customers never even held a fishing rod in their life or own one.
Yeah.
But you know, if you're barbecuing out, you put your tongs and your spatula in there.
Okay.
I know a couple of ladies that put a golf umbrella in the rod holder and they sit under it at their kids' games.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, I've been paddling a kayak for 23 years, something like that. And, you know, back then there wasn't a lot of accessories. You just kind of had to use rope and duct tape and make up your own stuff
Yeah.
and, you know.
Figure out how to.
But now it's a huge market.
Yeah.
And the stand-up paddleboard market is it's growing every year. And it's, you know, my product's perfect for that.
Yeah. What do you
So-
feel what's your, not to get into proprietary information, so just kind of big picture is what I'm really looking for here.
Okay.
When you're thinking about your future over the next, you know, 5 years, it's taken you a few years to get where you are right now, right?
About a little over 3.
Yeah, so I think really pretty impressive that you are in 100 retail operations across 7 states in 3 years.
Here's something the budding entrepreneur has to know. You don't just go into business. I've met a lot of people that, you know, they're coming out with salsa or spaghetti sauce or T-shirts with certain, and those are entrepreneurs and they're
Sure.
taking the same risk I am. But when you're inventing something that didn't exist ever before, you know, you have to really take into account all the steps. I mean, really, I guess the point I'm trying to make is I've been in business a little over 3 years. took me 2 years in the beginning just to get to the point where I had the product ready to.
Yeah.
So I've really only been selling a little over a year now.
Well, that's impressive to have
Yes.
such a large distribution
So
market.
2 years of work
Yeah,
just to have it
just
ready.
to get it ready. Wow.
So
Yeah. So for someone, I think that's really good advice. Any final words of wisdom that you would share with someone who has a concept, who's just toying with the idea of manufacturing a product?
almost not a day goes by that I don't run into somebody and they say, I had this idea once, and then that's the story. I had this idea once.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a different kind of personality type, and I found out I'm one of them, is you can't just have an idea and then say, whatever, and you lose interest
Right.
and move on and then tell the story the rest of your. Some people have to know, I might fail, I might succeed, but I need to know.
Yeah.
It drives me. So if you can honestly look at yourself and say, I have an idea, I believe in it, I know I can make a run at it, and with a little luck, I'll succeed, but I have to know.
That's great.
And if you know you're that person, you need to start today.
Well, that's perfect.
Yep.
Well, JJ, thank you for being here
Sure.
and sharing your inspiration. Well, on behalf of my guests and everyone here on the set, thank you for watching, and remember, be career happy.
More information about this program is available online at millermediagroup.org.